Shot over.
Okay, no more talking, okay?
This is shot over, that means this. Go ahead.
Okay, so now you gotta be quiet the whole time, okay? Here we go. Alright, in this video we're going to talk about hip motion. What I tend to find on people when they come in to see me is that they're limited in their hip motion. Why this is important is if your hip can't move through the full range of motion, usually your low back has to make up for that. So we start to see excessive motion in the low back, which leads to a lot of tension and leads to a lot of pain and problems. So we want to make sure that you have full range of motion in your hips. So in this video we're going to primarily be talking about hip flexion. In another video we'll cover extension and everything else. So with hip flexion, what we want to see is when you bring that knee straight up, you should have about 120 to 130 degrees of flexion. If you're one of those that you're stuck way down here, then we have a lot to work on. So the other key is we want to make sure that as you bring that up, it's coming from the hip and you're not rounding the pelvis and bringing the pelvis up off the floor. So we want it to be true hip motion. So the easiest thing we can start doing is the old knee to chest. The key with this is again, we want to keep that pelvis on the floor. We don't want to be rocking that pelvis up because then that motion is coming from your low back and not your hip. So we want to keep that cheek on the floor, and you're going to pull that knee up and even start to pull it in and across, and you just want to hold for a couple seconds and relax. We're just going to go back and forth for about 2 minutes to start opening that hip up. Then this same position, we can also release those tissues on the outer part of that hip using a lacrosse ball. So for this, you're going to come up more, find the spots that are really tender in that outside part of the hip. We're going to cross that leg over, and we're going to work, and we can either hold pressure there or we can roll back and forth, again, for about 2 minutes or until it feels like it starts to release. Okay? Finally, the way I really like to work on this is to use an elevated surface. So you want to use something that sits up a little bit higher. You're going to put one foot up, we're going to lean in, we're going to push until it feels like that knee wants to start drifting out. At that point we're going to force it straight, we're going to push and relax, and do that for about 2 minutes. And then we're going to start driving it to the inside where it doesn't want to go. You can even use the opposite arm. Same thing, drive and relax, drive and relax. And that will really start to open that hip up, start to get that flexion back. Obviously we want to check both sides, work on both sides if it's needed. So start working on that, help those hips out, and we'll cover hip extension in the next video. Alright, catch you later.